Welcome, everyone, to Chirping Zebras, episode 13. I'm Mark Riley alongside Gino Binda Jr., and we're coming to you from AOA Studios up in Beverly. Best place to come and tape a podcast or record a record or do whatever you want to do on tape. Although there's certain things I don't think they do here, but most of it they do. And we want to thank our premier sponsor, Referees Crease. And your one-stop shop for all your refereeing needs, scheduling, paying, training, do it all. And we have a very special guest tonight. We're very excited for tonight's episode. Coming to us from his living room and from Spittin Chiclets, Barstool Spittin Chiclets. Ryan Whitney joins us on Chirping Zebras. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing great, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, man.
I appreciate it.
Now, we got to get an elephant out of the room because I've heard the story from your dad and along with Gene Sr., your last high school game at their academy, you got tossed by said Gene Sr., and we want to hear your version of the story.
You've told this on your podcast, I believe.
Yeah, it wasn't my last game, but it was the biggest game of the year.
Okay.
Okay.
We were playing Lawrence Academy, and the top player probably for 2, if not 3 years now in the league was Tony Vos, who went on to start at Boston College, and he was just a freak athlete. I think he broke records at Lawrence Academy for football and hockey. He was just an incredible player, but he was a get under your skin, in your face, kind of like, I'd say rat, but I think he'd take it as a compliment. I've gotten to know him over the years. Great guy, but just a pain in the prick to play against. And
right.
And we were the two top players in that game, no doubt. I was a junior, he was a senior. It was a huge matchup. We had kind of like a little slow start this season. We're pushing, we're trying to get into the New Englands. So is Lawrence. I believe they ended up winning the league. They had a wagon for a long time there. And Bose is like always kind of, like I said, he's in your face. He's been known to probably take a dive here or there. I mean, in a smart way, right? Like he knows how to draw penalties, but at the same time, refs, if they don't know, they should know that this guy is looking to draw penalties constantly. And the first shift of the game, he has the puck on the wall, and I barely push him. I wasn't even a physical player, but by no stretch of the imagination. 2 top players in the game, in that game, and boom, Gino Sr. boots me out, hitting from behind. What happens? He hops up. Nothing's wrong with him. Completely fine. It was a dive, and I'm out of the game with 58 minutes to go. A high school 15-minute periods, 43 minutes to go.
Wow, it's horrible. That sounds about right.
Horrible call. Yeah. Horrible call. I've never gotten over it, as you can tell.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
and if it wasn't Vos, I'm like, okay, all right. But like, I know Gino knew what he was all about. I mean, I think he went on. He scored a hat trick, including the OT winner.
The hockey gods weren't with him that game.
Yep.
Jeez, no, they weren't. No, the hockey gods. He lit up every single place he went, right from Lawrence into BC, dominated for 4 years. So
I remember
he got the last laugh that night.
For sure.
Did he ever play in the NHL?
No, he didn't. I mean, nowadays he probably would have had a way better chance. He was a shorter guy. I think he's probably 5'7", maybe 5'8", but just so good around the net, like his hands and his patience. And I mean, every year in the ISL, he was leading the league in scoring.
And he could fly too.
Not right. Oh, and he could fly.
Yeah.
And then he got to college and he dominated there too. So yeah, it was a tough one looking back. I remember this kid, Colin Greenhall, was a good player. He went on to play at Williams. He got walked by him on the overtime winner, and then Jack Foley was out on the ice, just like screaming at the kid. I was standing on the glass on the outside with the stand, and I don't even think my dad had gotten to the game yet. He was like pulling in. He comes in, biggest game of the year, and I'm done. I'm in street clothes.
That's friggin' brutal.
That is brutal. Maybe that kid went on to in the Olympics in the diving team. Sounds like he probably would do well there.
I always say that's Boston College. He could have gone to any school full ride in the country, but they kind of attract those kids who love to maybe embellish a little bit. I got friends that played at BC, but I'm giving them a hard time. Their team this year, you got to tip their hat.
They were phenomenal.
They were awesome.
Now, were you just at the Frozen Four?
I was out there for the finals. I
Okay.
had to do something for work Wednesday, Thursday, so it sucked. I couldn't make the
Mm.
games I wanted to be at, or at least
Right.
BU had. I was hoping they won, and they lost. So I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to be in the building and watch BC win it all. But Denver just locked it down. They were so good.
Yeah, Dave Carl's awesome. I was so happy for them.
He's great. He's going to be a coach in the NHL, no doubt. He's only 34.
That's what everybody talked about. So I worked that conference for like 6 years, the NCHC. So I got to know him through the years. Oh yeah. So like how it works, like in college hockey, like you can't work the conference, you work. So I was considered an NCHC referee. So like for 5 years in a row, they won the national championship. So my guys, we couldn't work. Like every time we go to the Frozen Four, like I went twice, and you can't work your conference. So you're not working the final because they were there.
Oh, so you could. So if you're NCHC and the first semifinals, ECAC Hockey East, you'd be in that game.
Correct. Exactly.
Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense because of the.
It makes sense, and also like you get history with the guys in the tournament. Like the coach might not even like a guy in your conference, or might have some history.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this guy again, or something like that. So there's some rhyme or reason to it. But then when you look at it, when I worked my national championship in Boston, I was considered a Hockey East crew because I went to Hockey East that year and didn't work enough games in the NCHC. So I had a chance to work that title game, and when I did, Denver ended up winning. Right. And I was an NCHC ref for the past like 6 years. And now I hop over to, right. Like, what's the difference? Right. So
I know.
And so, but it was really special. Like I went to seek Dave out, and just what a special guy he is. I congratulated him. He looks at me and goes, "Hey, congratulations." And I'm like, "Dude, you just won the national championship and you're telling me congratulations?" I'm like, "That's pretty cool."
Yeah, it's cool too. The story, I mean, it's heartbreaking how
it is.
He found out he could never play hockey again going into school, but just to use that as a positive thing in a way and just hop into coaching and be where he's at now. He's got 2 natties and a World Junior Gold. So he will sign a huge ticket in the NHL kind of whenever he wants, I think.
Yep.
He's now got so much leverage that it's almost in a way he's thinking I'm not going to go to some real bad rebuilding team. If I leave, it's going to be to a team who I think can contend. So and it's like, even if I don't go anywhere, I love it here. So he's in a huge win-win now. It was we interviewed him yesterday. Great guy.
Oh, no kidding. So like my thing, like I was sat in the commissioner's box there. It was pretty cool. And somebody brought up, like, Denver has the most national championships of anybody. Yeah. And if you were to say, hey, who are the best top teams in college hockey across the country, you're going to name probably 6 or 7 schools before you get to Denver, which is kind of scary.
At least maybe before the last 2, I think it was 2021, 2023. But now you have to, because I think a lot of their titles might have been like a long time ago, and then they won my junior year at BU because
I remember that. Yeah,
was in Boston. They beat Maine.
Mm-hmm.
And that was almost like the beginning of this second go round. Granted, that was 2003.
But didn't they go back to back one time too during that era too?
I think they might have done it the next year, my first year out. I think they got it again then.
Yep.
The only problem I had with the final game was that the Denver center, every draw in the Denver zone, cheated on every draw.
He did.
I actually
didn't even
texted
notice
you.
that.
Was he going down to a knee?
No,
that's a big thing now.
He was spinning. He'd spin, and he had his skate over the line. He was already illegal before the puck was even presented. And before the puck hit, he was already in the circle every single time.
And they didn't boot him out of any of them?
Not one. Not well.
Wow.
And we've talked about this before. You don't boot him out in college, right? You give that warning, which I think is bullshit. It does nothing. Right. But not even one warning. And he did it every single time. I actually texted you.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
it's freaking cheating every face-off. Why aren't they correcting this? And that's what I took from it, because I watched from the referee standpoint. And
they were winning a ton of draws too.
Yeah, they were, especially in their zone. They won almost. I bet it was 70% of their draws in their zone. So it had an impact on the game for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
I mean, of course, the Denver goalie, the way he played, I mean,
outstanding.
Oh my God.
It's like that save on, who was it, Leonard?
Leonard.
The wide open net. That was freaking ridiculous.
And Leonard did the right thing. Like, he got it in the air, which you're always, and if he had whiffed on it, it would have gone right in.
Right.
On the
Yeah, good
ice.
point.
It was like, it was just, I mean, that kid put on
Guilty.
the performance. I don't know if I've ever seen goaltending like that 4 games in a row. I didn't know, though. He had gotten hurt early in the year, so he didn't start playing until like mid-January. So it makes sense that he kind of found his groove, because I think it was March 1st on. His
That's
numbers
correct.
were out of control, and that's nice being an undrafted kid. I think he's going back, David Carl mentioned, but
Good.
If he has another good year, I mean, you're looking at a kid who could probably pick where he wants to sign.
I would think. Isn't he already drafted though?
No, he's
I don't think so.
undrafted.
No.
No shit.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I thought he was already drafted. I thought he was with the Canadians. Or
No,
something,
that's the
but apparently
BC
not.
goalie.
No, the BC
Oh,
goal.
that's right. That's right. Okay.
He's a freshman. He was unbelievable too.
That kid,
he-
that kid is gonna be
Phenomenal.
gross.
Unbelievable.
So my daughter's a goalie, so like I pay attention to goalies now. It's weird. So
Yeah.
it's like I'm watching hockey totally different.
Actually, Stoddard's kid's a goalie, Will.
Oh, no kidding.
Jimmy Stoddard, yeah, he got into it this year. And, obviously Jimmy Stoddard played goalie, and the kid was kind of asking him. And he's like, no. And then this year, he really got into it. And I think they got the first row seats behind the net. BC defended twice in Providence in their regional. So he got to kind of, show his son, and his son's all into it. He loves Vasilevsky. So the goaltending for young kids, it's crazy. I mean, I watch my son. Next year he'll be a mite, first year mite, so it's not intense at all.
No.
But you're still watching them, and you're kind of nervous and rooting for him. And then goaltending, it's like, oh my god, I can't. You're watching your daughter, like, please save it, please save it.
Oh, they played in the playoffs. She had 4 shootouts, and she stopped all 4. Talk about
No way.
Oh, yeah. It was
Good for her.
Yeah, it was nerve wracking as all hell, but she was solid.
That's great.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Now your alma mater has arguably the best college player in hockey right now, Celebrini.
Oh, he is a freak.
That kid's unreal.
I hope he goes back. Got the Hobie Baker. 17 years old, the youngest Hobie Baker winner ever. I think he turns 18 like a week before the draft. That's
insane.
But he's a complete player, which nowadays you see Paul Bissonnette, my partner, he calls it TikTok hockey. And it's the perfect term. Kids like doing the toe drags and the Michigan, and they like seeing a lot of kids don't really care or learn or have any desire to be involved in the defensive aspect of hockey. And this kid is just like, there's no cheating the game. And then he's got this skill level, this shot, this compete level, and then he's a brick shithouse. I mean, he's built like Crosby. And I'm not saying he's Sidney Crosby by no stretch, but he's like a Jonathan Taves. Like, he's going to be a stud in the NHL.
You go to hit him, it's like hitting a wall. And you're like,
yeah,
oh,
like,
you think you're going to light him up. And
There's older kids in college, and he has his like head down occasionally. Guys are catching him going flying. What sucked was he took that huge hit from the D-man in Denver.
Yeah.
I think it was the second period, and he wasn't really himself after. Who knows if he got a little dinged up.
Well, he got hit right in the head, right coming across right of the blue line.
That should have been a hitting to the head, and I think Pandolfo was like looking at her, trying to get the ref's attention.
Listen, if they challenged that, I guarantee you that would have been a 5 because it was direct principal contact to the head. So no matter what, that's a 5-minute major. So it could have been a 5 and stay.
And the announcer was mentioning it. I think it was Buchagos. He's like, I think Pandolfo's trying to get the ref's attention, and boom, the puck dropped. You're done.
Yep.
That game, and I probably wasn't the best growing up, and as I've gotten older, I definitely appreciate refs more and how hard their job is. But that BU game was a horribly ref game, in my opinion. Like, for them not to get a power play, that's just 4-0 in penalties when they had the complete pace of the game in their favor the first 30-35 minutes. It was like, but what are you going to do? Can't blame the refs.
No, you can't. And, even that hit at the end, right? Like all year long, that hit's called a 5-minute major. And we're going to go in and call 2. Like, I remember someone in the box looked at me. I was like, that's a 5, but they're coming out with 2. I was like,
which almost goes into like, all right, well, they don't have a power play yet. We'll just call it 2. And then you kind of lost it a little bit.
Right. Exactly.
Well, and it goes back to, we talked about it. Referees don't want to have an impact on the game, and especially in playoffs. But
the good ones,
when when you don't make a call, you have as much of an impact as you do if you make the call. And that kid at the blue line on that was all day 5 in a game, or at least 5, maybe not 5 in a game, but why isn't that caught? Why don't they see
Well,
that?
well, if when you watch it, right, it looks like everything about that hit is clean. Like everything that
I agree.
Denver, everything that Denver defenseman did was exactly what you tell someone to hit somebody. It's just
Right.
because his head was leaning over, and it was the first thing that got picked. Unfortunately, it's the way the rule written, and like this is a rule change here. So we're going out of Florida in 2 weeks to meet, and they're all talking about, how do we, change the language in the rule to, maybe, that hit there just because a clean hit, you got to punish a guy for 5 because he just nicked his head when he's already leaning over, like one of those type of deals. I don't know.
Yeah, and when that hit happened live, I was like, great hit. It was
Right.
on the replay, which is why, like,
Yeah.
the review actually would have got him. But
Exactly.
live and fast paced, you're like, that's an awesome hit.
Right.
So I
Well,
don't really blame him. It was almost like they just would have had to had he challenged it.
Back in the day when we all played, that was a great hit.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
back.
you
Keep your
could have
head up.
elbowed him in the head. It would have been a great
Yeah.
hit back in the
I mean,
day.
of course, I played. I'm older than both of you, and when I played, I mean, Jesus Christ, you could hit people in the face with a stick, and you might not even get to.
And when you play, the puck was square, but it's all right.
Hey, I'm not that old. Fuck you. What's funny is before the season, I ran into Mike Eruzione. I did a comedy show for him, and I'm name dropping, but
I went to the bar and he was sitting with the BU coaches. I saw
No
him.
kidding.
Saw him with pinned off. Yeah.
every time he calls me, I say, Mike Eruzione, Olympic hero calling. But I saw him. We did a show late August and over in Winthrop.
Okay.
And Mario Lemieux was there. That was the show. Mario Lemieux was there.
No shit.
Yeah. And I told Mario he was the 3rd best player ever. And luckily he found it funny. I shit on Canada because that's what I have to do. And everyone's like, oh, I know Mario's here. And I was like, what are you, the 3rd best player ever? And everyone's like, I said, listen, you had Gretzky. He did a few things. And of course, Orr is number 1 because we're Boston. I go, that ain't a bad spot to be in. And he said something. I go, all right, you're bigger than me. I'll let you be number 1 tonight.
Yeah, he's huge.
And then later on, he looks like he could go back in and play too.
Yeah.
But he says, I said, Mario, how much was sticks when you were a kid? And he goes, I've never paid for a stick. And so I said, fuck you. You're back to 3. But like we had a good laugh. But anyway, I digress. Mike Eruzione said, wait till you see this kid on BU we have. The kid's 17 and he's unreal.
Yeah.
And this was back in August. And I mean, shit, I didn't expect him to be that good.
Me neither. And I'd heard all about him, and I saw his numbers in the USHL as a 16-year-old. And then I went to a practice early on. Couple of the BU coaches were like, "Wait till you see this." And when you have expectations like that, and you're still like blown away, it's like, oh my God, you got a future NHL superstar that you're just watching as a young kid. You'll in 10 years, the kid will be 27, an all-star, and you'll be like, I remember when he came into college as the youngest kid in the entire NCAA and was the best player.
Ripped it up.
And what's interesting about him is he played in the USHL, but he's not like, someone like Bedard, who everyone talked about when he was 12, right? 13.
Yeah.
And this kid kind of came not out of nowhere for people who, follow hockey, but for your average fan, it was like, where'd this kid come from?
Yeah, he wasn't like a prodigy that you hear about. Yeah, Crosby and Ovechkin and these other guys. But then when he came on the scene, it was quick. And then, like I mentioned, like usually it's 17. You're like, oh, there's a lot of room for this kid to fill out and get some strength. And it's like, he's NHL strong right now. I hope he goes back. I mean, if Chicago picks him, he's probably gone because the whole chance to play with Bedard is just probably too enticing to pass up. And if San Jose got it and picks him, it's like, I don't know why. Maybe one more year. The problem is he won the Hobie, so it's like, all right, well, I kind of already did individually everything I can do. The thought of the kid Cole Eiserman coming and some other studs, maybe going after and getting that national title, maybe that'll bring him back. I hope, but I could totally understand if he decides to leave.
He reminds me of a little bit of a Bergeron type.
Yeah,
he plays that 200-foot game.
Shot.
Better shot. But like he's physical and he's not all about offense. He
No.
like already has figured out the 200-foot game, and he's only 17, which
Yeah.
is impressive.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite to win the cup this year? Who do you like going into
So
the
I'm
playoffs?
an Oilers fan. I really hope they get it done. I think they can get it done. It's going to take a lot, but Dallas to me is the best overall team in the league. They have veterans, they got youth, they have one of the best goalies in the NHL. They have a great coach who's been to the finals a few times before. It seems like they're going to be a really tough out. Now, if they get Vegas and LA holds on to that third spot in the Pacific, it's almost like all bets are off, because even if they get through them, it's going to be probably such a war that they don't have much left in the tank. Vegas has been playing like shit since January. But you still know they got all these guys. If Stone comes back and Pietrangelo comes back, and all of a sudden their cap's at $106 million for a game, they could go on to win it again. But Dallas they got that third so-called third line with Jamie Benn and Wyatt Johnson, who's a stud 20-year-old, and then this Logan Stankoven, who spent most of the year in the AHL. He's another stud. So it's like that's your third line on the lineup card. It's like Hintz, Robertson, Pavelski's the first line. Then you got Sagan. It's so deep that up and down the lineup they'll outplay everyone, whether it's fourth line on fourth line or first line on first line. And then Heskinen's probably, I mean, right there with Makar and Quinn Hughes is Roman Josi. Those are kind of the four guys. I guess Hedman, top 5D in the league, and then Ottinger. So it's going to be really hard to beat that team. It's just the West is so difficult. It's almost like it's switched, where last year the West didn't look anything crazy, and the East was all the horses. So the problem is you come out of the East the way Florida did, you're just beat to shit. That would kind of be my example of this year's West. Whoever comes out of the West, how much are they going to have left in the tank for the Cup Finals?
Yeah, I think Vegas is the type of team that can just turn it on.
I agree with you.
I think they're like
because they add 7 players that are on LTIR.
Yeah. Right. And they're doing the old bring them back and the whole cap thing, like Tampa did what, last year or the year before with who was it, Kucherov, right?
Yep.
Didn't he come back? But I just see Vegas as that team that they're like that. The playoffs hit and they hit that next gear, that next level, especially with all the experience they have. I kind of, it's interesting because Dallas, I didn't really think much about them, but they're definitely, I think, the favorite in the West. But I like Vegas to come out.
Yeah, which is kind of why the playoff format right now I'm not a huge fan of.
I was just going to bring that up.
Well, I heard you talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're losing. Great. It's like 1 through 8. It just kind of rewards a team a little bit more.
Agreed.
I mean, Tampa has struggled throughout the year, and then they've turned it on the last month and a half. And the Bruins, if they win tonight against Ottawa, win their division, and they get Tampa. It's like, whereas instead they would have the Islanders if it was kind of 1-8, 2-7. So it's kind of tough. I understand the league doing it, trying to create these divisional rivals. It's just unfair to certain teams to get punished for having a great regular season. I mean, I don't mind the thought of expanding the playoffs. Elliot Friedman, the insider from Sportsnet, he came on our podcast, and his idea was pretty cool. I thought it's 7 plays 10, 8 plays 9. They play 2 games, both at the higher seed, and it's aggregate, right? So not necessarily aggregate, but if you win the first game and then you lose the second game, you go to OT at the end of the second game. Sudden death moves on into the playoffs, right?
All right.
So it's like it just it creates more money, more revenue with those 2 extra games.
Yep.
It creates a little more rest for the top 6 teams who have earned those for sure locked in playoff spots, and it just kind of it gets more teams in the mix down the stretch. The opposite side of it would be that the East race for that final spot's been so pathetic this year, where teams are just like, no, you take it. No, you take it. It's been ugly hockey with Detroit, Washington, Pittsburgh, and the Islanders locked up that seed last night or 2 nights ago. But I just think that there was 16 teams in the playoffs when there was 21 teams in the league, and there's 16 now with 32. So it's just a mini little playoff to get the final 2 seeds, the similar ways to what the NBA does, and their ratings are huge. It's completely different. But the purists of the game don't love it. I just think it just, as a former player too, it's more money in the player's pocket with the revenue.
Right. Like all the like sports are doing it. Like Major League has that play-in game. That's
Yeah,
one of the best,
baseball.
that's one of the best watch games of the year. It's awesome.
know.
Everything's on the line.
Yeah, it's exciting, and it's I love that idea. I think that would be, a pretty cool thing to, and again, not only the revenue, but it gives us more games to watch.
Right.
Like,
Playoff
and I
games.
kind of didn't describe it right. So you win the first game. So
Yep.
7's playing 10. The 7 seed wins at home. And then that's a 60-minute game, no matter what. That does not go to overtime. 60 minutes, it's over. So the next game, if it's a tie, boom, that team who won the first game is moving on. So it's somewhat aggregate, but
Gotcha.
and the only way you're going to overtime is if one team wins one game and then loses the next game, and then it's sudden death to get into the big dance. I thought it was a great idea.
I think I like that.
I do like
Yeah.
that.
Now, would you have overtime? Say the first game is
No.
tied.
First game's just 60 minutes.
So
like,
if it's tied, it's
No
just
matter what.
tied.
It goes into that final game.
So whoever wins that final game wins
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
I think that's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
How do you present that?
I if anyone's presented it, it's Elliot with his voice and
Yeah,
being the
right.
top insider of the game and him getting it out there. I guess that the issue is Bettman has no desire and just stomps on any idea of expanding playoffs. He doesn't like
Okay.
it, and at the end of the day, it's like the commissioners decide and stuff like that.
Yep.
Unless
does
all
it-
the owners went at him, which maybe the owners would want it with the more revenue. I don't know. That actually could be outside even the owners' opinions, and he's just kind of deciding.
Right. You never know.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense why you wouldn't want to expand it. That
Right.
like, why wouldn't you want those extra
He
games?
said
That's
like
2
half
extra
the
home
team
games.
already makes the playoffs. Half the teams in the league already make it, and I don't know.
Yeah, well, he's had somewhat of a checkered career as the commissioner anyway, so we won't get into that though.
Yeah, there's some things if you look at when he took over the game is in a much better place, and he had a lot to do with Tampa and Anaheim and these teams that have built these fan bases in non-traditional hockey markets, and not even the fan bases, but the grassroots program. Like, yes, the Coyotes have been a disaster, and they're going to Utah, but without the Coyotes being put there from Winnipeg, we don't even have Austin Matthews. So he's
Good
done some
point.
great things. I think now going back to best on best next year with the 4 nations and the Olympics falling, that's great that he's gone back. Yeah, there's been some things that probably people aren't too thrilled about, but overall, on the whole, it's kind of hard to say the game's not in a way better place than when he took over.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, I
Definitely
agree with
is.
that.
What do you think about Utah? That's pretty. That should be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, anything better than playing in a college rink in the NHL. It's those kids, like, you make the NHL, you dream your entire life, and you're playing in front of 3,700 people. It's like
It's like a USHL rink.
Yeah,
It's not even a.
it's
not
a
even
great,
a college
it's a
rink.
great college rink. It's a great
Yeah.
junior college rink, but you're in the show. So, I got to play. I never played the Utah Grizzlies in the AHL. We were in Wilkes-Barre, so not really traveling out there. But I played in the under-18 5 Nation tournament for Team USA in Salt Lake, 2001. It was incredible, beautiful city. Weather's awesome. Rabid sports fan base. I mean, you've seen with the Jazz and this owner of the Jazz, Ryan Smith. He's the guy that's bringing in the Coyotes. He's going to rebrand them into the Utah something. He's building a new arena for both. So for a few years, this new team, the Coyotes, will be in the Utah Jazz's facility, which it's kind of similar to what they said about Barclays in Brooklyn when the Islanders are there. It's like built for basketball. So there'll be some issues, but you think 2-3 years, they have a new state-of-the-art arena, an owner who was dying to get into the league. Has already been in contact with guys about how first class it's going to be. Like I mentioned, the weather, it's incredible out there. Beautiful city. I think it's a home run. I think it's going to be a home run.
I agree. I spent 4 off days there one time in the Coast League during the playoffs. Instead of flying me back from Alaska, they sent me there. They were like, it's a lot cheaper for you to stay there for 4 days.
Yeah, Utah.
Saw a lot of sights.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Sounds good.
That's one of the 5 states I haven't been to. Utah.
Yeah.
I gotta get out there. Utah, Alaska, Montana. What's the other one out there? Wyoming and Arkansas.
I don't know about Arkansas, but the other 4 you're missing out. They're beautiful.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to.
I actually haven't been to Wyoming. I've been to Wyoming.
I figure Wyoming's got to be like Montana. You know, like it's similar, but I definitely want to make a trip out there. And Arkansas, yeah, you can.
I'm okay not going to Arkansas.
I am too. You know, there's not much to see down there.
There's probably some great golf, but other than that, I'm all set.
No, when you were on your back nine, you played in San Antonio, right?
Yes.
I've had you a few times down there.
Yep. I liked it.
Yeah, it's awesome down there. Great arena too.
Oh, great arena, and they do a good job of kind of blacking out with the curtain, all the up top seats for the Spurs. But I had only been in the AHL in Wilkes-Barre, which was an awesome place to play back then.
I love that building.
Huge crowds, and I guess it slowed down a little bit, but I loved it. And then at the end of my career, being in San Antonio, I was like, oh, this is nice. That's actually when I really got into golf because, you know, you'd practice. We lived right near this course, quarry, right. And it was phenomenal. Good restaurants, great Mexican food. Travel wasn't great, but in that part of the AHL.
Everything's 3 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember talking to you and Mono. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. You guys were like, yeah, I just take my skates off, put my golf shoes on.
Yeah, exactly. And we had the hookups at all these different courses. There was a TPC. Guys would let you go play. So it was great. I got sent down probably mid-November, maybe a little after. And, you know, you're bummed out. I was on a one-way, luckily. So my pay, it actually went up because of no more escrow. So I was kind of bummed. But then I got there. Great guys. They had Vincent Trocheck was there, who's starring for the Rangers now. I knew he was going to be in the AHL for not a long time. Some other guys, some younger kids, and I was a veteran at that point, so I had a blast there.
I think Bobby Butler was down there too.
Yep, Butter was there. Yeah, there was a bunch of good dudes. Jed Ortmeyer played in the NHL for a while.
Was Doug Janik down there?
Doug was there.
Is awesome.
So it was kind of like Doug was up for a little bit. I was up at the beginning. I came down. And then Motts went up for most of the season. He came back down at the end. So, yeah, it was like a great crew of guys to go have a beer with, and the weather was perfect. So, for an AHL city, I'd take it.
Yeah, right.
Where was your favorite place that you played? I mean, putting aside, obviously, the NHL, right? That's where you want to be. But putting aside the level of the league, what was your favorite city to play in? As a home city.
Not NHL?
Well, it could be any city, but I just mean, I know like the NHL obviously is that ignoring the level of the league and just the city itself. Which city was your favorite?
I mean, it's kind of tough to beat living in Newport Beach. When I was on Anaheim for a year. That was, I mean, just leaving the rink and having that weather, it's like, oh my God, you're not even used to it. I'd been in Pittsburgh. But my best memories are Pittsburgh. Those were the best teams I was on. And then the city is so sports nuts. Yep. You know, they're the Steelers fans, and the Pirates, they've been pretty bad for a while. But then after I was gone, they got good for at least 1 year. And the playoff games, they had the blackouts, and it's just a sports town. Like they live and die with their teams. So getting to experience that and make a run to the finals, and you know, I was a rookie with Crosby, so you know, we were really bad that first year. The next year we made the playoffs. The next year we went to the finals. It was like it happened so quick because of him and Malkin and Fleury. So I think just my experiences from that town, loving their teams and being so supportive, and then having success with the organization, those are my best memories.
Every time I'm in Pittsburgh, like the whole city, everybody, if like you don't wear a team jersey, like you're considered like
they all wear
everybody. It's all the team jerseys. It's hilarious.
They all have jerseys,
and it's such a blue collar city too.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you think I would think it's really without the sports,
Right.
what is Pittsburgh?
It's nice looking
You
though.
know?
You come out of the tunnel,
That's a nice
you're right
little city, yeah.
downtown, and all the rivers right there,
Yeah.
and the downtown's really nice to look at. There wasn't a ton going on downtown when I was there, at least in like the downtown part. It was more East Carson Street, which I guess is kind of gone to shit. But it was, yeah, it was more about the fan base there and how much they love their teams and they're just so diehard. I mean, and without them getting Crosby, they might not even be there anymore.
Right.
That's true.
Save the franchise.
He saved it. I have a great memory of Pittsburgh Airport. I did a game in Johnstown, and I drove over to Pittsburgh, and Brad Park was filling in for Nick Fotiu on the bench of the Chiefs and Johnstown. And so, of course, him and I got into it a little bit during the game, and I'm like, I gave him the palm. I told him that's enough. And I'm like, holy shit, I just gave Brad Park the palm. He was like one of my heroes, So the next day, who's flying out of Pittsburgh back to Boston? Brad Park. So I walked over to him. I'm like, hey, Mr. Park, how's it going? He's like, oh, today I'm Mr. Park, huh? Yesterday I was just a coach and you were putting your hand in my face. But we sat there for like a half hour talking hockey. And it was like one of those moments where
Those are the best guys.
Of all the places, Pittsburgh Airport,
right.
And that was really cool.
Yeah, it's a good spot, and I think just Mario owning the team and Crosby being there was always people coming in, so you just got to kind of experience a smaller city, but a huge market team, like a big, everywhere you went, the arenas were sold out, and people just wanted to see Sid. So it was like you were the show in town, no matter what. Columbus, I mean, it didn't matter. It was just like the Penguins are here, so I think. Just taking that all in as a first, second year player, I was blown away.
I'm surprised they don't have an NBA team.
Yeah, I kind of always said that too. Once I guess the NBA looks at it like they're just. I mean, they have 32 teams all in America, so it's kind of like they're in all the markets that they think would be huge. Maybe they look at it like hockey and football is so big there that they don't want to. They don't want to go in and risk it not being as popular.
But I would think, I mean, it's such a voracious sports community and fan base. Like, I think they would eat that up.
Yeah, so do I.
And then you'd have you could have the Philly Pittsburgh like you do in hockey, like you do in baseball, right? And like you do in football. You'd have that interstate rival that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I know. I've never even heard about like the possibility of them going there either.
Yeah, no, it's never been talked about.
No.
Do they have a WNBA team?
I don't know. I don't know.
Who gives a shit? I'm just kidding.
I don't know where their cities are. Although
We're all about women's
I watched Caitlin Clark in the turn, and she
was awesome.
She's insane. She's absolutely. And how about she just signed her first contract, and like the total of it is like 338,000 or something. Like
I saw that.
It's ridiculous that she's the best player in her sport. And you got pitchers who absolutely suck in Major League Baseball, who are like 50 pounds overweight, haven't touched their toes in years, and they're making like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 million a year.
There's not too many El Guapos anymore.
No,
that's the people that watch. People are watching baseball, though. I think she's probably still making at least 3 million off the court.
Oh yeah. And I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the WNBA players should be making 5 million a year. I'm just pointing out well, we've been accused of being a woke podcast, which is fucking hilarious.
You guys strike me as very woke.
Yeah, very woke. Well, we had Kelly Cook on, who refereed the women's Beanpot final this year.
Yeah,
and did a thing with Nashville. She was one of the first 4 women referees to do something with the NHL. So we had her on, and we were talking about how it's pretty much time to have a female official in the NHL. And we put that out there on, the social media.
People went nuts. Yeah.
I had like 4 or 5 guys I'm going at it with, women, this, and one of them says, you guys are, stop with the woke bullshit. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And on that episode, I talked about women's curling and the boobs flying out by accident. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Anyway,
I only see the social clips.
Right. And that's the thing. They don't watch, a comedian and a kid from Southie. Yeah, we're real woke.
Yeah, right.
Woke as fuck. That's what we are, right? Waff. Um, I want to get your take. Like so you won a silver medal in the Olympics, right?
Yep.
What was that experience like? Because the Olympics to me, and I love the Olympics. I love watching it, summer, winter games. Yes, I do have a bunch of bits on it, but I do enjoy watching it. What's it like playing for your country? Because that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was best experience. You know, I've had playing the game. It was short. It's 2.5 weeks, I think it was. And what was great, it was Vancouver. So, you know, you're not dealing with maybe a city. There was, I think, South Korea or China had games. I don't remember exactly where it's, you know, you're not maybe gonna love the food, and you're not like looking forward to how long the flight is. I mean, it's the Olympics; it doesn't really matter. But just being in Vancouver made it that much better because it was hockey. It was Canada was looking for a gold medal after '06. They hadn't even made the final. That was the Finland Sweden game. Sweden won, so all the pressure's on them, and we beat them in the round robin, tied it up late in the gold medal game. Just an incredible experience. I had the best seat. I was on the bench for
You were
for most
hurt,
of
right?
that
Yeah.
most of that gold medal game. But just being around the other athletes in the village, and the weather that those 2 weeks. I remember it was like 65 degrees every day. It was so
Awesome.
nice out. It was just, and you'd have, you know, I think a couple times it was 4 days in between games, at least 3. So, you know, after the game, guys would go out, have some beers. You'd have a couple practices. We didn't check out any other events because the skiing and all that stuff was up in Whistler, which is about 2 hours away. So would have been cool to maybe see something else. But just being around all those guys, and I knew a decent amount of them, but then the ones you don't know, you get to know real well in a short amount of time. And yeah, wearing your country's jersey is just, it was such an honor. And I mean, that was the last 14. They in Sochi, they had the best on best, and that was it. So in 2026, it'll be 12 years since, you know, we haven't seen McDavid and McKinnon play together for Team Canada, and Matthews and Eichel. So it's like, I just can't wait to get back to the entire hockey world focusing in on best and getting that. Next year will be a good warm up. It's Sweden, Finland, US, and Canada playing in Montreal and Boston. So, you know, at the Garden, it'll be rocking for a couple of those games. And it's what everyone wants to see. You just dream of seeing the best players representing their country. So when I got to do that, I certainly appreciated it every minute I was there.
That's awesome. It's too bad you
Yeah.
didn't get to go see the 2-man luge.
Yeah, that
The
would have
one
been a go with
sport-
a skeleton.
The one sport I question, the 2-man luge. But I won't get into that again. I actually talked about that on the Kelly Cook episode,
Oh,
being
yeah.
all woke, about the alternative Austrian Hans Beethoven, that I think came up with that.
You did.
But
Sometimes his bits come out.
I digress.
That's the comedian.
Yeah, I can't help it. We want to get your take on referees, especially refereeing in the NHL, because you know it's my take and Gino, but more me, that is very critical of the officiating right now in the NHL. I think overall it's fucking awful. You know, you got your Wes McCauley's, your Chris Rooney's, Danny O'Rourke's. You got the older crew that do a really nice job, but then you got these new guys coming in that have no idea what they're doing.
Well, they're all former players, right?
Well, that's the thing. So, and maybe they're not fucking awful. All right. Maybe I'm being a little bitter, but, cause I spent a week in the NHL, but, you know, but you watch games and we find, at least it's our opinion, that the fighting is up. You see more line brawls this year than freaking any other year. And it seems like the players are just taking things into their own hands because they're not being protected by the referees.
Yeah, I won't say it's kind of inconsistent. Where and it's hard. You get so many different refs that you understand it's never going to be the same every night. But there's just a lot of things that some guys are calling penalties, and then some guys aren't. So as a fan now, I'm just watching, and you're like, "Oh, I watched a game last night, and that wasn't called, and then I've seen it called 3 times tonight." So I think fans are more confused sometimes. Like, I don't even get what is a penalty and what isn't, Now there'll always be that in hockey. It's such a fast game. The refs have such a tough job, but I just find, and all I hope for when I'm watching the game is, you mentioned it earlier, is just at the end of the game as a ref, if nobody says a word, it's like job well done. And I
Yep.
think some of these young guys come in, and I don't know if it's subconscious or they're meaning to, like they almost want to be a part of the show. It's like, dude, nobody's paying to see you there. They just want to see a fair refereed game. And that's the other thing. Like, if you're gonna make a couple calls that are looked at as soft, you got to just call it both ways.
Right.
So when that happens, and you see a hook that you're like, what? Or I notice, you see guys like the stick infractions, you're like, that just doesn't look like anything. And they're calling it. But if you're calling it both sides, I don't complain, because at least then the standard is set. The standard set on the first one in the first period. All right, we know what's up. It's when that standard set and then the same thing, if not worse, happens, and the arm doesn't go up. Then I think as a coach, fan, or player, you're almost confused. You're like, how is this game getting called now? Because that was a penalty in the first period. Now it's not getting called. So I think with the fighting, yeah, I don't know though. It wouldn't be fair for me to say, like, yeah, these guys are fucking it up. They're getting in the mix, and they're not letting guys handle their own business anymore, because there's a good chance, I don't know, Gino, maybe you know more, that message is coming from up top. Like, get in there. Do not let these guys get going.
It is,
because
yeah.
you see sometimes guys are looking to get going, and then all of a sudden the ref's in, and every fan in the building's like, back up. They both want to go.
Right. Yeah.
And
They're instructed to get in there. Yeah.
yeah, so it's kind of one of those things where it's like the game has always policed itself. And so when you're looking at a sport where guys can really take matters into their own hands, and there's a fine line between a game getting out of hand, but I also think the refs were put in a real tough spot when with the instigator rule, and all the issues around that, and the game not being able to police itself, and guys that wouldn't have lasted 10 seconds years ago now are just running amok and doing whatever they want to do. I've said that it is a really good thing that the staged fights are gone, where two guys are playing, they know they're playing to fight in the first period over nothing at all, and then they're done for the night. And I don't mean to say it in a way where guys that did that, can't get a job and can't make big money to support their families anymore. It was time for the game to move on. It was so fast and so skilled. It seemed like, all right, we don't really need that anymore. But the heat of the game and the passionate fights, there'll always be a place for that. And sometimes as a fan watching, it looks like the refs are trying to completely break those up before they get going. And every fan, I mean, what do they say? Like, the fans stand up 2 times for goals and fights.
Right.
And if they're down south, they stand up for everything. Well, we've talked about it too. Like, I think the instigator that's in place now takes away from protecting those skilled players. Like, we talked about it. Gretzky doesn't get, you didn't take a run at Gretzky without getting your ass kicked, by McSorley, or, you knew what was going to happen. Now you could take a run at anyone, and if someone jumps you, you're getting a 7-minute power play, because usually the first hit isn't even called.
It's 17 minutes. Yeah.
17-minute
penalty. 5-10.
Yeah. And so I think that's
so guys
where,
can do whatever they want.
Exactly. And especially where that first penalty isn't called, 90, I'd say, well, I won't quote a percentage, but a good percentage of those bad hits that require someone to own up to what they did and drop the gloves and be held accountable,
right,
aren't called. And so it's one of those things where I just think that they got to look at that. And I know the whole push is to get fighting out of the game, but I mean, fighting has a place in the game.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And again, stage fighting, no, that I think ran its course. And, back in the day with the Bruins in the 70s and stuff, that was just all, that was the way people played. Right. Yeah. And then it went to the stage fighting shit. Yeah. Get rid of that. But you got to let people hold people accountable.
It's too fast and physical of a game for their You could never take fighting out. You guys you get naturally so angry and so fired up, and that you're just gonna grab someone. Um, but I yeah, they do it. They have it's just so fast. Like that's what it's such a fast game, and you go to a you try to tell people like I know nowadays with the prices it's so hard, but if you can ever sit down low, like you'll watch the game in a different way.
I tell
It's like
people that, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like an awakening because my father-in-law he wasn't that into hockey. He would watch and then you know I got married. We got married, and then he got a little bit more into hockey with me always having it on the TV. Now he's got season tickets or splits them, and he sits right. He's first row behind where the Bruins shoot twice, and he's just constantly talking about how amazed he is. Guys
That's
are
awesome.
so big and so fast, so you appreciate it more. And then when you go back and watch, you kind of get how the refs can miss stuff. It's like, you take your eye off 1 sec, you look
All
at the
sight
puck.
lines. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
sight lines and the speed, but it's just there's certain calls and there's certain inconsistencies that people get frustrated about. Now, this is in every league. I mean, look at the NFL officials. That is like, I mean, that's a league. What is it? 50 times bigger than the NHL. If not, I don't know the number, but it's in another stratosphere. And that refereeing is way worse.
Well,
True.
Yeah, they keep changing the rules. So, like forever, these NFL referees are looking at something as clean, and hey, that was clean my whole life, and now I got to look at it and go, ooh, because of player safety, I got to throw the flag, and it's like, well, this is soft, or is that the spirit of the rule? And like everybody's kind of like, and people don't agree with the new rules or how the game's changing, so they look at it different. And to get to the consistency in the NHL and the inconsistency of it, like you said, you get all those veteran guys. They've been through the ringer. They got experience. They know when to let a call go and when to grab it, right? So they know how to game manage a lot better than these younger kids coming in. So these guys are in the American League for maybe a year or two, and they're jumping in. Like last night, you saw Johnny Abear and Francis Sharon work the game. Like I worked the East Coast League with those guys, the American League with those guys. Like I live with Johnny in Reading, and now like he's a Stanley Cup guy, and he's gone through the ringer, and he was in the American League for 4 years, 5 years, but he did games in the NHL. But he got all that experience through his whole career coming up, and that's what makes these guys great. And I think the NHL has a good premise bringing these former players in. They know the game. They can skate. They skate like the wind. They look the part. But you need to get that experience in the minors. Go to the Coast League and work your way up, and then or whatever. And there's a different path, I think, than just sticking them right in.
Yeah, and it's besides the prodigy hockey players, it's good to play in the AHL. You learn how to be a pro
Yes.
and you learn how to manage your body in 80 games coming out of junior college, and you learn the intricacies
Yep.
of pro hockey. And that's no different for a ref. And then you also you're getting, you go to the coast, games a little faster in the AHL, you become accustomed to it. Games way faster in the NHL. And
Yep.
to get thrown right in there, you can't expect a guy to really know what he's doing that quick off the bat, and then two, like it's hard to get coaches to really respect somebody
Trust.
who's to trust them and believe that they're going to call a fair and even game. So
Yeah.
People always complain though. It's like people make a big deal out of the refs, and I have before with a lot of calls, but you go through so many games and you got no beef whatsoever. It's
Right.
just like the one mistake becomes such a major storyline that it's kind of tough to you don't want to be dogging them all the time, but you got to be honest, and you're like, oh, that call really affected that game.
Right. Like the hockey god's going to be with you sometimes. Like I did the Frozen Four last time it was in Minnesota, and the kid Hughes that was playing for Michigan, I did the Michigan Notre Dame game when Notre Dame won with like 0.2 seconds left. And Hughes is coming down at me. There's about 11 minutes left in the game. And like he's cutting around, and like the kid had a stick in there, and Hughes like bites it. And I throw my arm up for penalty on Notre Dame, and I went over to Jeff Jackson. He's like, "Get the fuck away from me!" And it was like he never, like he didn't trip him. His stick was in there, and he toe picked, and he went down for. But my sight line, everything smelled like a trip, and my arm just went right up. And my partners are like, "Dude, yeah, don't worry about it. Just keep moving. You can't pick the flag up as a referee, which sucks."
I
But
know.
what are
Which
you going
we
to tell the
talked
shit
about.
out
Now,
of
would
it?
you say,
We've talked about
looking
that.
back at that, because you didn't actually see it, even though it wasn't your fault, like you
Right.
wouldn't call it now?
I
Or
don't
is
know.
it like that, like I guess you're fucked either way, because
Right.
you're like, that looks exactly like a trip would look. So if I don't call it, it's even worse. It's
Exactly.
hard.
Right.
I mean, we're not like, and no one can appreciate the difficulty of that job than you or me.
Right.
We've both done it at a high level, and you're gonna miss stuff. You're gonna see things wrong. It's a job of angles and what you see. And you can call the perfect game, and there's still someone pissed off at you.
Oh
Like,
yeah, for sure.
because
There'll always be.
there's always going to be. And that's another tricky part of that pressure that you feel.
Mhm.
And yeah, I said it. I guess my problem is they're pushing people too quick, and it's affecting the product on the ice. And they need to go back to the way it was, where I started in the USHL, went to the East Coast League. Chris Rooney did the same thing.
Yep.
Guys, there's a bunch of guys in the NHL that I worked with in the Coast League that worked the way up the ladder. So by the time they got in the NHL, they had, 6, 7, 800 pro games under their
Yeah.
belt. So it wasn't like they're getting thrown in with, 100, if that. And it's not an easy job for sure.
No.
But and then I think, I've always said too, like you mentioned the NFL. NFL calls can change the outcome of a game, like directly change the outcome of a game. And with all the money that's being bet now and all this, DraftKings and all this stuff, there's so much attention put on that. I feel hockey's the one sport a referee can't fix a game. I mean, you can call 26 power plays to none, but they still have to put the puck in the net.
You get
Yeah.
Davis in that.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do I know?
Yeah, but before we let you go, like NHL referees, who'd you have a gripe with? Who'd you like? Who'd you didn't like? Any gripes? Any?
No, I had no gripes. I really liked Wes. I knew
Wes
Wes
is
from the
awesome.
minors and stuff, and then I actually live about 4 doors down from Chica, so I know him and
Oh,
met
right
him
on.
a little bit. I actually remember though my rookie year, my second year maybe. No, it had to be my rookie year. A linesman, like, he completely missed a call, and it kind of screwed me over. I was like joining in on the rush, said I was offside. It wasn't even close to offside. And I was like, "You motherfucker," or something like that. Like, right away, well, actually, no, not even right away. I didn't realize, like, you can't be doing that. I was young, and I remember Mark Reck, he grabbed me. He's like, "You don't fucking talk to refs like that or linesmen." And then he, made sure I went up and apologized. And I remember just kind of looking at it like, oh, that's a guy who's got 1,100 games. And you realize that as mad as you get and as quick tempered as you can be, it's like they want to see respect. Now, players have a legit gripe. They want to be respected by the refs too. So you get some players who are acting like assholes, and you get some refs who act like assholes.
Yep.
So it's really hard because you got big egos and different personalities, but you just want to be respected. And I think that that's a ref's biggest thing is I want to be shown respect by guys and not talked down to. And yeah, if I miss a call and you're upset, there's a big difference between at a whistle, maybe just shooting the shit and being like, "Hey, you kind of missed that one," and talking personably and politely.
Or what you see there, or
Yeah.
Yeah, or compare. Yeah. What were you seeing there? Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Compared to just flipping out, and then
Right.
it's like, all right, you do that, and then he's like, fuck this guy, and then fuck that team. It's just like such a cycle.
Because
where,
I'll be honest, like, dude, I fucking should have had my arm up, and and then like the kid be like, oh yeah, fucking
yeah,
right
and
on,
you're like, oh, if you do it that way,
Right.
I don't think people have a problem if you're in a classy way bringing up something that's an issue.
Right.
I don't think people have a problem admitting when they're wrong. It's when you come at them so hot and heavy and hard, you're like, no, even if I was wrong, fuck you. So it's
Right.
like it's all kind of how you approach a ref, and same with kind of them approaching a player. My biggest gripe, I guess, would be when a guy at center ice or just outside the blue line puts his hand up after the ref standing in the corner with the two guys doesn't. It's like that's one thing where, and yeah, there's different angles and stuff, but if you could tell that the ref's blatantly looking at it and he doesn't call it, I don't get how you can call it from 60 feet away,
Hooks,
70
holds,
feet away.
hooks, holds, and trips, you leave those alone. Like if it's an egregious act, like a cross check or a hit from behind or something like
Yeah,
that.
those are a little
Like,
different.
yeah, you're gonna put your arm up. Like we're kind of not really taught, but you give them first crack, and if it's not 110%, you leave that alone.
Yeah,
Well, that's what we try. Like we teach the younger refs. One, you have to, be respectful to get respected, right? So you don't go out
100%.
there, throwing F-bombs at players or coaches, and you have to be approachable. Communication is so important, right? But that the pregame, like we always say, like I always tell my partner, if I'm shaking my head, that means I saw it. Don't put your arm up, right? If I don't react, well, then chances are I didn't see it. And if you feel it's a penalty, put your arm up,
Yeah.
But that communication has to be there. That trust has to be there. And that's something that I don't know if that happens enough, even at the NHL level, because you do see that. You see a hit right next to a guy, and next thing you know, the whistle's going, and you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
He didn't have it.
Yeah.
I actually coached it there for a while.
Oh, really?
The JV team, yeah. I came in
Nice.
with Larry Rooney, and then Tony was there Tony Monty was the head coach when I left. And I got in a lot of trouble as a coach because I was kind of a dick. And I admit that. But I also knew what I was doing. So it was
Right.
tough for me to see shit and not fucking say something, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
But it's a difficult thing. A difficult job to have, but everyone's doing their best.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. When
And,
that's the case, and there's no, there's no like ill will towards a team or a player, and guys make mistakes, same way players do, and I think fans are, as hard as they can be on players, they sometimes don't ever give any leeway to refs. It's like the guy fucked up. I mean, what are you gonna say? Yes, sometimes it's awful timing and it's a playoff game, but to go out and expect that there's gonna never in the biggest games when your team's playing be a missed call or a call that shouldn't have been called, that's lunacy.
I think the biggest thing you have to make sure you get right, because penalties, there is, it's discretion, right? Like what I think is a penalty,
Judgment.
you might not think it's a penalty. But when it's around the net, like we've seen things affect games, and it's when someone's not in position, and the famous one, and I bring it up, but Kevin Pollock with Nashville, he's not in position to see the puck sitting in the crease. That completely changed that series.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that you don't want to get wrong.
Yeah,
right?
you got the
You know?
positioning's so much more important than I think people realize. It's like once you're in the right spot, it's pretty easy to get it right. It's when it's same way like as a defenseman, if you're chasing the game, if you're out of position, it's like that's when you take a penalty. It's like it's no different for the refs.
Exactly.
A couple more things. One, who do you think the dirtiest player right now is in the NHL?
Probably Nick Cousins.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
a good pick.
He knocked the linesman out one night in Allentown. Yeah. He
Oh,
jumped
Sherpas?
into her. He jumped in a fight too early by himself. The linesman did, and he caught him right in the back of the head.
Oh,
He fought the kid Puig, the kid from the little guy from Ottawa.
yeah.
So two little guys went at it, and the guy jumped in way too early, and the other linesman wasn't ready, and then he just clocked him right in the back of the squash.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah, he's a dirty player though.
It was the first time I ever dropped pucks in the end zone because the linesman had to leave the game, so we did a two-man system.
Oh wow.
Thanks, Cousins.
You didn't do a one and one?
Well, we did, but the referee drops the pucks in the end zones because then I go to the goal line.
Oh, all right.
It was the scariest thing I ever had to do. Like,
oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
I only had it
timers
once.
coming in.
Yeah. And
I
the
only had
sticks
it
coming
once.
up. I was like, no, thanks.
And Columbus with Steve Barton, who's
Oh,
still in the NHL as a linesman. Him and I did the one and one, and I think I blocked that out of my memory though. I just remember trying to break up the two guys bare chested at center ice. It was like wrestling fucking seals. It was awful. But
yeah, Cousins is a good one. Yeah.
he's a good one. Tom Wilson is just, he's calmed down in the past couple of years, as he's
Yeah, he
kind of
was worse
matured a little
before.
bit, but he's just,
I thought the Bruins were going to get him in the deadline, maybe. I don't know.
I wouldn't mind seeing him in a Bruins outfit. He's one of those players that like you hate him if he's not on your team,
Right.
but you love him if he's on the team. Last thing, what's it like to have a vodka named after you? Because that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just we caught lightning in a bottle like times 10. It was just so lucky, the timing of everything. But it's crazy. It'll be interesting once my kids get older. Like, oh, this is what Pink Whitney is. Like, yeah, I gotta keep it out of the house. But so fortunate with like New Amsterdam hopping on, becoming the sponsor, and then agreeing to make this drink and give it a shot. And yeah, it was one in a million. The fact that it took off without Barstool and their following and all these people who were willing to give it a shot. It never gets off the ground. So it's been a wild run to see where it's come, and it's just we're so fortunate for it. I can't say how lucky I've been in so many aspects, but that thing being big, it's like I remember when the idea. Biz said it first, and then my wife mentioned it because we'd been talking about it. I'm like, no, I don't want to do this. Nobody's buying a bottle of vodka with my name on it. It was like, but then they did a great job with the logo and kind of making the color pop. So
it came out unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a drink for, younger college and out of college. But in the summer, I enjoy it, no doubt. Put it on ice, and that's kind of what I always drank on the golf course was pink lemonade mixed with vodka. So just a wild story.
If I ever fall off the wagon after 18 years,
hopefully not.
Well, if I do, though, it'll be on Pink Whitney. How's that?
All right, deal. I still don't want that, though.
Well, it'll be in Vegas with hookers, strippers, and midgets, but we'll just it'll involve your drink. Can you
Thank
now?
you.
Now wait a minute. When your kids get older, and they go out and get banged up on your vodka, can you even ground them? Like how you handle that one?
I can ground them whenever I want.
It's like, Dad, I got fucked up on your stuff.
Yeah, we didn't need you buying it.
Right. That's awesome. Well, we want to thank you for coming on, Ryan. This has been awesome, man.
Yes, thank you.
No problem, guys. I appreciate it. So good luck with the show and keep it going. So thanks for having me on.
Right on. Thank you.
We appreciate it, Ryan. And so Ryan Whitney from Spittin Chiclets, our guest tonight on Chirping Zebras, episode 13. We'll be back next week. And we want to thank Referees Crease, our sponsor, and thank Ryan for coming on, and for Gino Binder Jr. for AOA Studios. I'm Mark Riley. We'll see you next time here on Chirping Zebras.